Hello, this video is on Chapter 8, Employees and Payroll. So what I'd like to do is to share my screen. And start my presentation here. Hold on. There we go. Okay, here we go. The learning objectives of Chapter 8 are these: payroll setup and payroll processing. We'll talk about the differences between employee and a contractor. We'll talk about time tracking that we use to compile employees and contractors' time. And we'll show how we can use that time to invoice our customers. We'll also talk about some payroll options that QuickBooks Online offers. Talk a little bit about paying employees, paying our payroll liabilities, and be able to use QuickBooks Online to file our payroll forms. In our sat nav, we're talking about transactions where we enter time, pay employees, and payroll liabilities. I will make a disclaimer, is that we really can't run a payroll in this chapter because Intuit will not let us. They're getting greedy. Yes, I think they're getting greedy. They want us to pay for it. So we can describe it and all this type of thing, but in the old days, at least we could kind of walk you through it. But this one, it's going to be almost impossible to do that. So we're going to do the best we can. Anyway, let's talk about payroll setup and payroll processing. Okay, payroll setup requires us to set up an employees list. And normally in any computerized accounting system, we would add an employee. We would put the Social Security number in. We put in, is that employee married or single? Because that does affect the rate of how QuickBooks will withhold withholdings from their check. Also, how do they get paid? Are they salary? Are they hourly? And those type of things. We're going to learn then too during payroll setup to turn on our time tracking preferences, which will allow us to track time that we can actually bill to our customers. And then part of this payroll setup is to turn on our QuickBooks Online payroll. Now, we're really not going to do that here. We can describe it and things, but because we're not paying for it, they won't let us do it. But what happens when you turn on that payroll, that it's going to set that payroll system up. And a lot of the accounts that you need to run a payroll, like federal income tax payable, state income tax payable, Social Security payable, Medicare payable, SDI payable, all those are done automatically for you when you turn on this QuickBooks payroll. Okay. Now, when we talk about payroll processing, we're talking about entering time. So, once we enter our employees, we've got their rate of how they get paid, like if they're $20 an hour and the like. So if we want to know how much that we owe them, we just enter their hours, let's say if they're hourly, and it's going to calculate our gross pay for us, right? Based upon that, QuickBooks will go ahead and process the payroll. Also, entering time will allow us to bill our customers. We can put that time to our invoices. If we, when the employee enters the time, they associate that time to a customer. Okay. And then part of the processing is actually paying the employees. And what they're going to do, what QuickBooks will do is take your gross pay, know what deductions need to be put out, and create a net pay check. And that could be a paper check, or it could be direct deposit as well. Now, the employer is going to be withholding all these taxes from the employee's check. And that would include federal income tax, state income tax, FICA, which is Social Security and Medicare. And I didn't put SDI here, but I could. That would be there. Also, the employer is responsible for the federal unemployment tax and the state unemployment tax. And we'll talk more about that. Unemployment taxes are only paid by the employer. Okay. These FIT, SIT, and FICA, and I'll tell you more about that. This is how I remember it. Those are all amounts that will be withheld from the employer's check. Matter of fact, FICA, that's going to be matched by the employer. So both the employee and employer have to contribute to the FICA. We'll talk more about that later. Okay. All right. And then you can use QuickBooks to prepare your tax forms, like the form 940, which is for your unemployment tax. That's a federal unemployment tax. The 941, which is the quarterly federal taxes, which would include FIT and FICA. So federal income tax, Social Security, and Medicare. And this is a quarterly tax return. You do this every quarter. And you can use QuickBooks to prepare your W-2s. And you guys know what a W-2 is, right? You probably have got one before. It's just your annual summary of earnings. And also QuickBooks will prepare the W-3. And what's that? That's the transmittal form that kind of summarizes all of the W-2s, and the W-3 will be sent to the government so they can see what you've done. Now, all those reports, all those forms, you can look on page 408 for a summary on that. Now, employee. What is an employee? Employee is the type of individual that we as an employer control. We say, okay, you have to show up at 8 o'clock, and this is what you're going to do, and you're going to take your break at 12 and come back after lunch at 1, and that type of thing. And so employee, you're going to withhold amounts for federal income tax, state income tax, and the like. Now we'll talk about contractors, and they just work for you, and you don't have to take out anything for them. You just pay them out. They have to pay their own taxes, right? But anyway, you would normally create a employee list. Now, because we're not paying customer, we can't really get in there and do that in any great detail. And I will let you know that when I got to page 374, I started to do option 1, and it was not matching up. The book was not matching up with QuickBooks Online, and I looked at the updates. It wasn't matching. Now, I think that there was one little hyperlink you probably could have hit and maybe entered an employee. And, all the book is going to have us do is put in the name, not the marital status, not how he earns his money, is he hourly, is he salary? But anyway, I opted to use option 2, and I think that's what I want you to do. So when you get to page 374, skip option 1, go right to option 2, and then on page 378, I want you to enter Cy Walker as a contractor. Okay, it's just easier. It'd be less problematic. Okay, and this is kind of how you're going to do it. Payroll, choose contractors, add your first contractor, put in Cy Walker and add, and man, that's all you have to do. Now, I was telling you about what a contractor is. We're going to hire a contractor to do a job, but we don't specify, how he's going to do the job and when he's going to do the job and all that type of thing. He's got a lot more freedom. He's his own boss kind of thing. So we don't withhold anything from his check. We just pay him. He's got to be responsible to report all of that, right? Okay, so to get to see the contractors list, just go payroll contractors, and if you want to add a contractor, you would just go to add a contractor. And I think in section 8.4, you're going to add Andre and Evan. Evan's going to be very important because in your end of chapter exercises, there's going to be a whole section on Evan and compiling time that you're going to apply to an invoice. So Evan is real important to have that one done. Okay. Now, when you are asked to add Andre La Fortune as Social Security number, the vendor information screen on page 382 does not look like QuickBooks, right? And we kind of know that. I mean, from the other chapter, they just reorganize it. Not a big deal. But if you hit edit and you go down to the bottom, the Social Security number can be put here in this field. And to make him like a contractor, when we want to track the payments for 1099, we're going to hit this button here. Now, what is track payments for 1099? What that is that we are going to have to report any money that's over $600 that we paid Andre, right? We send that to the IRS, or it's not the IRS, but it kind of goes to them. And they're going to make sure that Andre includes it in his tax return. And if he doesn't, they're going to go after it. You know, it's kind of like the government is trying to this situation where people are cheating. Like Andre can go, hey, you know what? I'm going to charge you $100, but if you pay me cash, I'll do it for 70. Well, check, I'll do it for 70. That's a good deal. Why does he want cash? Because he doesn't want to be 1099, and he doesn't want to pay that and declare that on his tax return. But when we track payments and we put it in his 1099 and we give that to the IRS, then the IRS is going to see, well, did Andre include that in his income? If not, Andre gets in trouble. So basically, with our contractors, we're going to do that. Put in the Social Security number so the IRS knows who he is, and check this because we're going to send his 1099 to the IRS, right? Now, this doesn't work for corporations, right? It's just for like individuals. So just keep that in mind too. Okay, so at the end of section 8.4, you're going to have 3 contractors, but no employees at this point, right? You'll have Andre, Cy, and Evan. That's okay. We're going to add our employee later. Okay. Now we're going to talk about time tracking. And why do we want to track time? Well, first off, we need to know how much we owe our employees, right? If he's hourly, if he works 40 hours, it'd be 40 hours times his rate. That'll give us how much we owe him, right? Also, it can be used to calculate contractor payments. Well, how much did this contractor work for us, and how much do we owe him? Also, time can be used to include on sales invoices when we bill customers for work performed. Okay. Now, to turn on time tracking, it's pretty easy. We just go to the gear icon, select Account and Settings, and select Time. In the General section, just make sure that your first day of the week is Monday, hit Save. In the Timesheet section, make sure that Show Service field is turned on, and also Allow Time to be Billable is turned on, and hit Save, and you're good to go. And that's what you're going to do on page 387. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting. On page 391, we are going to use the use time entry. You know, in the old version, there was a single time activity and also this time activity. And time activity was really best if you were going to put in hours over several days. But I think the Connell version that we have, they took that out, that single time activity. All I could see is time entry. So that's what we're going to use. That means that when you get to 391, you'll do step 1, yeah, new icon. You'll do step 2, but you're going to use time entry. So you're going to skip 3 through 11 and do step 12 through 22. Now, if you're using time entry and you get this advertisement, they want to sell you something, right? We'll just hit dismiss, okay? Just hit dismiss. Now, because we only have contractors, I think they're going to say, hey, you don't have any employees. So this is when you're going to add an employee. So just go ahead and add the employee. You're going to hit, like I say, new icon and add employee. And then you're going to put in your name. And I'd like you to use your first initial and your middle initial as your first name, and then your last name. So my name is Richard Jason Tuttrup. So Richard Jason, so my first name is RJ and Tuttrup. I just don't want any trouble mixing it up with some of the other times when the author wanted you to use your name. So do it that way. Anyway, just put that in, hit save, and you are good to go. So now you're going to see a list of, who can be used to do time tracking. Well, there is a way to turn on all the contractors. So I just do the edit button, turn that on, and all the contractors are going to be available, and plus the employee that you just put in. And this is going to be your name, right? Okay. So let's go through that process of using time entry. So new icon, time entry, select you as the employee. So I'm RJ Tuttrup, so I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to go ahead and complete steps 12 through 22. Part of that is that when I go to add time, I'm going to go and change this to custom. All right. So then once I do that, I'm going to hit add work details. And then this is going to show up. So I'm going to add, well, first off, I need to make sure that the start end times are turned off. You know what? I'm going to go back here for something. I totally forgot. No, I didn't. I'm okay. I'm sorry. That was something different. Okay. So you turn off start end times so that this duration thing happens. We're not going to do it like over a day, like Monday and Tuesday, all these different hours. We just want to do this one job and put in how much we worked. In this case, its duration is 1 hour. And who is it? It's for Remy. Now, when I was trying to find the Remy, I got kind of taken back because just the customers were showing up. So as a tip, make sure that you choose Sandy Copper, and that's Remy's owner. And once you choose Sandy Copper, then Remy will show up, right? Then you can choose Remy. That's just a tip. So don't just remember to do that so you don't get lost. And then what is the service that we provided? Well, it's errand, right? Pet care errand. Make sure that this billable is turned on so that we can bill it to the customer. Then we'll hit done. And then, of course, back after the last step is actually here is save. Okay. All right. That's how you do it. Now, we're ready to add that time to an invoice. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and to the new icon and choose invoice. And then we're going to choose Sandy Copper Remy as our customer. We're going to put in the invoice date. And then we're going to notice here that there's going to be a shelf here with all of the billable time to Remy. And what we're going to do is say, well, I want everything that's possible to bill. So I'm going to choose add. And there's only one, it's 1 hour. And by doing that, you're taking that billable time and putting it into the invoice. And then from there, you just hit save and you're pretty much done, right? It's not too bad. Okay. Now, as I was saying before, we can only describe the actual payroll. I'm kind of disappointed because I wanted you to get that experience, but the way Intuit is doing it, at least right now, it's not possible. So if you were doing this for real and you had employees, you have to choose a plan, core payroll, premium payroll, and elite payroll. And you can read it and see what you would want to do. But really, Intuit is going to be doing your payroll for you. All you'll have to do is put in the hours and out pops your payroll. But you're paying for it. So anyway, that's how it kind of works. Now, after we enter the timed work and we set up the payroll, QuickBooks can be used to pay the employees. Now, you can pay them by a paper check, or you can put it directly into the employee's bank account through direct deposit. This is kind of interesting that QuickBooks Online has a mobile payroll app that you can use to pay your employees. And it basically syncs with QuickBooks Online. And I guess, man, it'd be pretty easy. I mean, if all you're doing is entering, hours and QuickBooks does the rest, it's be pretty easy. It's just weird to me, being an old guy, to actually use my phone to, do payroll. In the past, it's one of those more complex things, and I want to see a big screen, but things are changing. Things are actually changing. Okay, now this is a pay stub that you might see, and I just wanted to share this with you because actually it's on page 401. Right? Is that right? Is that what's on here? Page 4. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's right on page 401. Notice that this is the pay stub. So this is not the check that was written, but this is what happened. We paid this guy with a check, let's say $443.06. Well, how did QuickBooks get to that amount? Well, if you look down here, that this guy, Alicia Catlillo, is a salary person, and this really she earned $769.23. Okay, that was her gross pay. But then she has some deductions, some voluntary deductions, like she has a 401k that she contributes to. She also has some health insurance, like Bright Smile, that must be dental insurance, and then Good Health Insurance, that must be medical insurance. That's taken out from this number. And then we have the taxes that we were talking about. Remember that other video? I said the withholdings from a employee's check is FIT, SIT, FICA, SDI. It's easy. Well, here's FIT, federal income tax. Wow, and doesn't look like nothing was taken out there. Social Security, which is FICA, right? FICA, Social Security, and Medicare. So you got $47.69 and Medicare of $11.16. So there's your FIT, there's your FICA, and how about SIT? There's your SIT, California income tax, and finally SDI. So you got them all right here. But I remember it by FIT, SIT, FICA, SDI. So here you go. You got a salary of $769.23. And then you have the taxes. If you add all the taxes up, those are the withholdings from the check that are mandatory. You've got 79. Then you have your other deductions that are kind of like, I guess, called voluntary or other deductions for the 401k and for the health insurance and dental insurance goes here. So you take that and subtract all those. Now you get your net pay of 443.06. Okay. Now, at a certain point, we have withheld taxes out of the employee's check. That money does not belong to us. That money belongs to the government. Until we pay it, we're going to owe it. Hence, we have federal income tax payable, state income tax payable, Social Security payable, Medicare payable, SDI payable. How I know that? FIT, SIT, FICA, SDI. That's how I can just rattle it off. Okay. And also that's really the from the employee. Now the employer has to match that and has to pay that for Social Security and Medicare. And then in the employer only has to pay the unemployment taxes. That would be your SUTA payable and FUTA payable. And so how would you do that? Taxes and payments. And when you run everything through the payroll system at QuickBooks, it keeps track of what you owe, and it'll even tell you when you need to pay it. So it's pretty slick, actually. I just wish I could demonstrate it for you, but like I say, we can't do that, unfortunately. Another thing that QuickBooks does is allow you to create your payroll tax forms. And we talked about some of them. The federal form 940, that's for FUTA tax, the unemployment tax, the federal unemployment tax. This federal form 941, that's the quarterly federal return, payroll return that would include all the federal taxes like FIT and FICA. That means federal income tax, and then FICA, which is Social Security and Medicare. Now, I know these, but this one, I said, what the heck? What's this 944? Well, that's for very small businesses that have very small amounts that they withhold and stuff. So for those small people and businesses, they can file theirs just once a year, and that's the form 944. Most everybody does the 941, but if for a small guy, doesn't really collect that much, they let you do it just annually. Okay, then everybody knows what a W-2 is, I think, because probably by now you've had a paycheck and you've been issued a W-2. This is just a summary of your earnings and what was withheld from your check. The W-3 is a transmittal form that summarizes all of the W-2s that the employer prepared and puts it all in one form. And so that's going to be sent to the IRS. And so they'll have a kind of a form that shows all of the W-2s that you made. Okay. And the last slide is about just accounting essentials. And I actually covered this in a different way, but they say that payroll liabilities includes two types. One, the amounts withheld from an employee paycheck. Well, that's the employee journal entry, and that's the one where I said that you withheld from their check. That's FIT, SIT, FICA, and SDI. That's what this is. And then the second one is the payroll tax expense. I call that in my first video the employer tax entry. And the payroll tax entry, that what does the employer owe? Well, first off, they're responsible for the unemployment taxes. So FUTA and SUTA, they're the only ones that do that. And one of those test questions, or even it could be in your assessment, your practice test, just know that, hey, only the employer pays the unemployment taxes, like FUTA and SUTA. What else does the employer have to pay? Well, as I said in my first video, also the whatever you withheld from your employee, you as the employer have to match it. So I just kind of did it in a different way, and I was actually more comprehensive, but that's kind of how they say it, and I say it a little bit different. Okay, that should do it. So hope that's very helpful. Anyway, we'll hopefully if you have any questions, just let me know. So until next time, I'm signing off. Study hard. Bye-bye.